Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of ABA with Vic. Now before we begin with this week's topics, as always, go ahead and click the subscribe button so that every week you can get weekly updates of ABA with Vic. So for this week, I attended the annual conference of the California Schools Employees Association. So for this week, I'm going to share my experience of me attending the CSEA Conference. The CSEA is the California Schools Employee Association. Now once again, I had the amazing experience and privilege to attend this annual conference that they host. This year, the conference was held in Ontario, California. So this conference is composed for all school employees from different regions of the state to come in one single location and share about their experiences working with children. And there's actually workshops that people could take so that they could continue working with schools and special education. First, I want to thank the CSEA for inviting me to attend their annual conference. Now, in this conference, there were different workshops that people could take. There were workshops about behavior, there were workshops about autism, as well as self-care for employees. Now, all of these workshops were very important and very beneficial. I took a few courses and I learned about what I could do better to support my school staff and also families in the home setting. I'm going to share with you a few things that I learned in this conference. Now, I took this workshop called "This Kid is Not Someone Else's Problem," and the lecturer was Dan Sackheim. This class was very interesting for me. It talked about how we should have the mentality to work with individuals with difficult behaviors. One of the things that he mentioned that I really like is that we should take it upon ourselves to take the initiative to work with individuals who have difficult behaviors or different attitudes. If you have individuals who have difficult behaviors, teach them the behaviors that you would like to see. Address the challenges. And one of the things that he said that I really enjoyed was that he said, work with them, don't hate them. And this is really powerful because we have to work with these individuals because eventually, later in their life, they're going to be part of our society. And we want to make them a productive member of society so that they could be functional. And with students, you also want to build their relationships, their resilience, and their relevance to any type of education that you give them. He also mentioned that when working with students, you should also be aware of different teaching strategies. For example, visual, model, auditory, and even more. Get to know the student individually and take that extra minute to know them so that they can know that you're there for them. So you can also build a relationship. And remember, we also made a video here at ABA with Vic called Building Rapport. And remember, I mentioned that when you build rapport, you build a relationship with these individuals. It is important to make relationships so that they could have a connection. When challenging behaviors arise, you could be the one who actually controls the situation. Because this individual already established a connection or relationship with you, they are more willing to work with you instead of giving you a hard time. Also in classroom, whether you're in special ed or not in special ed, encourage your students to ask questions. If you're an educator, you must address any questions that the student may have. We also want to remember that education is our priority, to teach them either behavior or teaching how to appropriately request for things. And one of the things I really like that he also mentioned is that care for these individuals because you don't know their lifestyle at home. You may be the only one they have. And there's times that individuals place your hope in them so that you could bring out their resilience and their ability to actually work with other individuals in their social life. If you're gonna create interventions, make sure that they're right for the individual. If you're gonna apply these in the classroom or at home, make sure that you're working with different educators as well as the parents so that you guys are also on the same page. And also, just because the student already learns the skill doesn't mean that you can stop teaching it. Always run maintenance. Always remember to work with these individuals so that we can ensure that these skills are not lost. So what are some things that we need to do to enable students for their success? We must place behavior interventions, but also listen to the students, check in with them, know them. And when you're listening, listen through their ears, listen through their perspective. And we have to remember that these individuals also have challenges as well. So factor all of these things in so that you could better assist the student or your child. Another workshop that I took was Everyday Sensory Tool. Now for this workshop, Janae Waterfield was the presenter. And she gave out a lot of valuable information for this topic. Now with sensory, there's a lot of behavioral challenges that we could see. Now there's different types to describe sensory input. Hypersensitive is when an individual overreacts to sensory input. Hyposensitive is when an individual underacts or underreacts to sensory information. And then we have the mixed profile. And the mixed profile is a combination of both. In this case, would be more hypo and less hyper, or vice versa, more hyper and less hypo. An example of hypersensitive is when you introduce a student to a brand new classroom and there's a lot of busy information in the classroom. And we discussed this in previous videos. And there's a lot of things that distract the student, such as colorful people on the walls, different objects hanging around the classroom and the wall, music playing in the background, and many more things. So if a student is hypersensitive, the student might overreact and might be having anxiety attacks, crying, screaming, tantruming, because this person or this student is going to be too sensitive to the information receiving by the sensory input provided from the classroom. So remember, you want to be mindful about these things. Then we also have the visual sensory process. And this is the ability to recognize visual information, such as discriminating between two items, identifying items, recognize and recall information. We also have the auditory processing. And this could be when an individual reacts to music or to any types of sounds. So once again, we also discussed in my previous video about physical arrangements. So what you could do if an individual is hypersensitive to sound, so what you could do is actually place the student in a different location so that the student is not overreacting to the sound that is currently going on. And by relocating the student, the chances of the tantrum occurring will decrease. One of the things I took out from this course, the everyday sensory tools, was that we have to use sensory breaks as an antecedent-based strategy. By us giving students breaks, will decrease the likeliness of behaviors from occurring in the future, and also the students will be more able to attend. Remember that too much sensory information around the classroom or even by noise could cause anxiety with students. Now we also have tactile sensory processing, and this will be in the touch domain. Now for the tactile, a student may either would like to touch things or may not like to touch things. An example of this could be a student walking on their toes, walking and liking to touch things, or may have an infatuation with touching textiles or clothing. Now we also have the proprioceptive sensory processing, and this is the perception of joint and body movement. An example of this is when a student likes to squeeze things. One of the things that Janae Waterfield said was to not wait for behaviors to arise. Always be proactive and remember to provide sensory breaks so that students don't go into these crisis moments. If you're going to create a sensory diet, make sure that this diet is appropriate and right for the student. Create a sensory profile. Know your student and know what type of sensory things they need. If they may need tactile support, be proactive. You could provide them with Velcro, Play-Doh, matching rolling Play-Doh, trace letters, play with slime or kinetic sand so that they may get that tactile support. By them interacting with these toys, they are getting their sensory input, and this will benefit them so that they won't get any behaviors. If they have a proprioceptive need, what you might want to provide the student is the actual body movement. So you could do wall push-ups with them, you could do crab walks, racing with other students, have an activity that interacts with relay. You could do push-ups and more things that require body movement. Remember that you want to provide these sensory tools and sensory breaks so that the students actually come in and behave better. Remember that we want to use sensory breaks as an antecedent-based strategy so that the student decreases their maladaptive behaviors and also attend and focus their activities in the classroom or at home. Remember that we could use these strategies at home and at school. Now for this week, I shared my experiences in attending the CSEA Para-Educator Conference. We talk about how we can use sensory input to our advantage. We also talk about how we should care about individuals and be very proactive with them. We also talked about how to go the extra mile with them so that they could respond better to us. Once again, I want to thank the CSEA for giving me the opportunity to attend the annual conference. And I also want to give a shout out to all the California school employees and thank them for their amazing work that they do. And I also want to thank them for taking the time out of their busy schedules and coming in and taking the time to learn new strategies that they can use at home and at the school setting. I also want to encourage them to continue doing their hard work. I also want to encourage them to continue working with our kids because sometimes they see us as their role models. So remember to always create a good example for them. You never know, that extra hello, how are you, could go a long way with them. And also remember that you make a big impact in their lives. So even though there's a lot of challenging behaviors that you might see, always take the time to address the behaviors and not ignore the student. Teach them the new skills that you want them to demonstrate. Don't give up. Now, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave me a comment down below. Or you can email me at ABAwithVic@gmail.com. Or also you can tweet me at ABAwithVic. And as always, thank you for watching. Hey guys, remember that April is coming up real quick. I am going to give out 4 amazing prizes to 4 lucky subscribers. The prizes include 1 gift card, 1 card magnet, and this amazing ribbon for autism awareness. All you have to do is just leave me a comment down below and let me know that you want to win. It's super easy as that. So remember, just leave me a comment down below, and each week on April, I'm gonna select 1 lucky subscriber to be my winner. So remember, all you have to do is just leave me a comment down below, comment and tell me that you want to win. And on April 2nd, I'm gonna select the first winner. Good luck to you, and as always, thanks for watching.